Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to Featuring Code. Long time no see because I've been busy. But anyways, today I want to talk about portals in React. It's something that I've been using recently on my job, and I think it's a good feature to have while working with React. So let's get to it. So what is a portal? Well, in simple terms, a portal is a place, a function where you pass some data, and then you take that data, React takes it and puts it wherever you want on the same page. This is useful, for example, when you have a nested component and things like that that produces some data or some functionality, and you need to move that component, for example, from here to somewhere in your header or another component in the page and things like that. And yeah, let's start coding, and we'll see how this actually plays out. First of all, before using the portals, you need to install React DOM and the types for React DOM, so you can use the create portal function that actually creates the portal. But anyways, let's create a component. Let's call it input to div component. Okay, input to div. This is a function component. Let's put a const here first. Okay, this is a function component of type any, and it returns an J6 element. Okay, and let's return something. Let's return a div. Okay, and yeah, so input to div. Okay, let's create an input here. Input type text, and on change I want to add the text that I'm typing to a div. Okay, and let's say typed text is text. Okay, and let's create the values for this. First of all, I need the actual variable to store the data. So we're gonna use use state hook. Okay, and the handle change, which is a function that takes an event of type change event of type HTML input element, and this what is doing is setting a value. Set text of event target dot value. Okay, so it's a simple component. And let's pass this component to our main page, to our index. Let's see, let's put it here. Let's see. Props data, let's put it here. Yeah, why not? Actually, let's make this a div. Or I don't need a div, I just need the input component. Input to div. Okay, and now we should see the component, and I'm writing, and yes, the text is super text. Okay, so we have a component, but let's say now that I want to pass this div somewhere else on the page. And although this is a simple page, you might have complex designs that won't be so easy to pass around from one component to another. And this is where portals come in. So for example, what a portal does, let's say I have an ID to pass, okay, and somewhere on the page, let's say I want in this deploy ID to receive. So what a portal basically does is it gets this. You can do it with JavaScript. So you get by ID the component to pass, and back into the index you get by ID the component to receive, and then you append to this component the previous value that you got. But of course we're not gonna do this, and we're gonna use the create portal function from React. And I'm not just gonna use the function, I will create a component that we can use, and we can pass to it whatever we want from other components, and then use that component, use that values wherever we want in the page. So let's create a portal component, and let's export it. Okay, and this is a function component. Okay, we're gonna get back to the interface. It's gonna return an element, and let's return something, some div. Okay. What's the, oh yeah, don't need this. So equals, not arrow function. Okay, so what I want to do is to call this portal component here in my child component. Okay, in my not child component, in my other component, and I want to pass this div Okay, if we go now, you're gonna see that the text has disappeared because now you have the portal. So it's the portal. Okay, and I want to take the children of this portal component and do something with them. So let's do this. Because we're working with children, the type would be props with children, and this will also will accept some props, and let's call this component props. Okay, and let's declare this interface props, and in this interface I want to pass an ID of type string. You can pass whatever selector you want, but I want to work with IDs. And what I will do is I will pass an ID here, my portal, my input portal. Okay. And what I want to do is whenever there is this component in a page and it sees this ID, my input portal ID, I want to select that ID from the page. So now I have the portal here because it's introduced by this input div, but I want from this input div, from this portal, to select by ID a component, and the ID will be the ID that I passed here, so it will be my input portal. Okay, great. This will be the target where I will put the children of the portal. So in this case, this div. So I will take this div and insert it here in my input portal. And how will we do this? Well, there's some things to do. First of all, in order to append these children to another DOM element, I need to create a DOM element myself in this component. So we already have this DOM element here, but I need to create another one in this component, which I will append in this already existent DOM element. So for this, we're gonna use the use effect hook, but the use effect works only on the client side, and you want and the application that we're working on works on the server side. So yeah, I forgot to mention in the beginning, the client side, the portal, the create portal uses only client side code, because it uses the window document get by ID and things like that. So let's create a constant. I will call it DOM element to append, and for this I will use the use ref hook from React, which will be of type HTML div element. Let's import it from React. Okay, so we have this DOM element to append. Now let's create when the code hits the client side. So for this you're using the use effect hook from React. Let's attach to this DOM element to append an HTML div. We're using this single curly bracket, so the code only works, only runs once. And let's create a div. So DOM element to append slash current, because this is a use ref, is going to be document dot create element, and this element will be a div. Great. And for this, so I will take this div, this child div, and I will append it into a target. The target is this one, my input portal. So let's define this. Get equals document dot get element by ID. And because I want this portal to be reusable, I will use this prop that we're using here, and we need to destructure the prop here in the function. Okay, so I have the target, I have the new element, and what do I want to do? Well, first of all, sometimes this can be undefined, so we need to check if we have the actual div element created. So if this doesn't exist, just return. Great. And now we can get to attaching it. So what do I want to do? Target append child DOM element to append slash current. Okay, great. And whenever this component unmounts, I want to clean up this element, so we're gonna do a return. So this is the cleanup function of the use effect. If DOM element to append current, okay, I want to do a target remove child of this. Great. And now let's do the actual attaching of the so yeah, right now this this code would just attach an empty div to your target. Okay, so now if we look here, if we inspect, we should see portal. Let's search by portal. We should see a div here. Yes, there are 3 divs. Probably the function has ran 3 times or something. Let's see, portal. Okay, now it has 1 div. Okay, so in the target, this is the div that I have attached. This is the div that we created here. Okay, maybe we can, for better visibility, DOM element to append slash current set attribute. Let's put an ID. This is it. Okay, and you see this is it. So this is what our code is doing so far. And now is where the create portal comes into play, because this portal component has some children here. So let's take these children, let's take it here, children, and attach it to the current ref, the current div that we want. For this, we're gonna do a create portal. Oh yeah, I need to do something like this. Create portal. Let's import from React DOM, and I will pass the children. So these are the children and the actual DOM element that I want the children to be passed in. Okay, and it says that this can be undefined. So for this, I'm gonna do this check, and now it should work. Great. Now let's refresh the page, write some text, and you see we have the type text here. Let's make it maybe an H1 for better visibility. So no, actually let's maybe make it a bold. Let's refresh. I type in some data, and you see we have the passed input. But what I want to do is I want to have this typed text whenever I refresh the page, not as I type. And what we can do in order to make this happen is pretty simple actually. We need to make a check. So this code comes from the server side, and we don't need to call this function on the server side. We need to call it only on the client side. And the easiest way to do this is to create const is client side, set is client side with a use state false. And I want to check here if it's client side, and DOM element to append current. Let's put it in a curly. Then I want to create the portal, and of course I need to set this is client side because the default is false. I want to set it after I append the child. So after I have the new created DOM element attached to my target, I want to call this function that passes the actual children to this actual to this created element that translates then into this appended child. So let's set this client side here true, and voila, we have already the text. Let's refresh, and you're gonna see that the text is here. Then you type, and great, it works. So that's about it for the portals. And another thing that it's great with this portal stuff component is that you can pass behavior also from the components that are passing into the portal. And for example, let's say that I'm having a div here that has an on-click event on it, handle click. Great. And let's handle click, takes an event of type. I did some debugging on this earlier, so it's a React mouse event of type HTML div element, and yeah, I think it's okay like this. Is definement never used. Console log clicked. Yeah, let's leave the event out for now. Let's put it here. So what I'm saying about passing the behavior, let's put this here to better see. So whenever I click here, it will work, but it would also work here when I click. You see, this is 8. If I click here, it's gonna be 9. And this will navigate because it has some links on it. So this is about passing behavior, but you can control the behavior. If you put here an event, prevent default, you will cancel the navigation that it's caused by this href. So it will work here on the clicked, but it will also work here. And if you click on the actual element, it will do what it does before. So yeah, that's about it with the portals. In the past month and a half, I use it very much in a project, and I had a lot of challenges with it. So for example, if you put multiple components, you will have multiple texts here. So the portal will put multiple outputted content, and for this you will need to pass different IDs for each of the elements that you pass. So for each input, you would be great if you put here an ID first and then pass it here into this ID, so you don't have or actually no, not sorry. Actually, you have only one place where you can output. You could put for multiple places in the page different IDs, but right now all of the content, so if you have 3 or 100, will be placed here where you output the portal. And if you want to have only one displayed, for example the one that you're activating, you need to implement some logic that takes this tree and only displays the one that is clicked. And you can do this with multiple techniques. I used a component that was taking a key from the route, and it was showing the one that is in the route. So for example, I would have a hash here, and this would have an ID, and it would show only this one, and the other ones are hidden. For example, this would be the place where you want to have I know, a pop-up with only one content, but with multiple entries, because it's a usable component. So yeah, that's about it. And the components are decoupled. Yes. And the behavior is also decoupled from this. So they're link together, they don't communicate between them. So yeah, that's about it about the portals. I hope it can help you, and yeah, I'll try to make some new videos. I have some ideas for explaining better the custom hooks and things like that, but yeah, it took a while for me to understand this portal logic, and yeah, that's why I made this video, to help others. So that's about it, guys. Have a nice day, and see you later. Bye.